I'm a bird, mother. I'm a bird.
The game is finally out. Currently, let me refresh this. It surpassed 1.1k players on Steam. Obviously, they will never confirm how many players they had on Xbox or how many sales they had, unless there will be a leak from Compulsion Gaming, which I heavily doubt it. South of Midnight bust may finally be the end of Sweet Baby Inc. I don't think it's gonna be the end of Sweet Baby Inc. considering huge financing they're getting, including financing from the government. So Sweet Baby Inc., if anything, the biggest chip they'll have in their armor is the fact that Sony doesn't want to work with them anymore.
South of Midnight might just be the end to Sweet Baby Inc., the final nail in the coffin that everybody has been waiting for. And maybe I'm just a little bit wishful thinking at this point, because it seems like no matter what happens, Sweet Baby Inc. finds a way to survive. What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of Smash.
Yeah, it's definitely on the side of wishful thinking. I don't think Sweet Baby Inc. is going anywhere. At least not anytime soon. They have way too much backing in their corner happening.
And holy crap, these numbers for Compulsion Games' latest game, South of Midnight, are not just bad, they are atrocious. Seeing just
pretty bad.
Barely cracking the 1,000 concurrent player mark on launch day for a game that was being billed as a big AA massive launch from a Xbox studio, and this was the game that was going to make everyone say, oh, Microsoft does make games, and they do have games worth signing up for.
Oh my god, I even forgot that it was under Microsoft. I forgot that Compulsion is under Microsoft. Explains why it's not available on PlayStation.
Game Pass 4. And then you see this game come out, and it's just like, yeah, more ideological pandering.
I don't know about the ideological pandering, but as I said, I will be playing it and we'll see. So far, from my experience of what I've seen, it seemed very bland. Like the character seemed very bland, which is heavily disappointing. And my biggest beef with this game is the lack of gameplay from what I've seen.
Hit that subscribe, give me a like, and check out smashjt.com for the full article breaking down how Sweet Baby Inc. may finally be reaching an end now that Compulsion Games' latest game, South of Midnight, is doing really bad. Okay, so full disclosure right out of the gate here. When South of Midnight was first revealed, I had some pretty low expectations. Not because I was hoping to see the game fail, at least not at first.
I don't know, maybe just me. I had very high expectations because of the setting. I had very high expectations for a game like this. Considering that this setting is such an untapped market, I was expecting a lot from them. At least when it came to world building.
But because it had all the warning signs of another overhyped, under-delivering title. And as time went on, I learned more about it. It ended up being crystal clear that it was just simply another game being propped up by corporate diversity checklists instead of any kind of actual compelling gameplay. Now that the game is officially launched and out of early access, the numbers are speaking for themselves, and yikes, is it way worse than anybody could have ever expected.
Yeah, I thought it's gonna be like 2,000 players at least, but it's not even 2,000. Maybe it's gonna have like a bump on the weekend, but I kind of doubt it. Especially if you check out the reviews, people who give it a thumbs up, they say they finished the game, 100%ed the game in 17 hours. So this is not a game. What if it's a sleeper game? Or what if it turns out to be an absolute banger of a game? I doubt it, mainly because of lack of combat and lack of actual gameplay.
I'm sure there are some people like, oh, it's going to do terrible, it's going to be awful, but this bad? Like, honestly, 1,000 people, give or take, on launch day for this major AA title coming from Compulsion's Games that was being worked on for years upon years. And there's 1,000 people concurrently playing it. Not very good. Now, I know right off the bat, people are gonna be like, but Game Pass, Smash, Game Pass. It's that's why it's bad. Game Pass, right?
What? Who says it's bad because of Game Pass? What? Am I missing something?
Well, sure. I guess there are people that have Game Pass and will partake in playing this game, but ask yourself, one question when it comes to this game specifically and Game Pass. And if you don't already have Game Pass, would you sign up for Game Pass to be able to play South of Midnight?
Yes, because it would be cheaper. Simple reason, yes, because it would be cheaper. I didn't do that. I bought it on Steam.
I mean, maybe there'll be one or two people out there that will say, yeah, this is the reason I'm signing up for Game Pass is South of Midnight. But overall, vast majority of people would say, no, this is not a game I'd go out of my way to sign up for Game Pass to be able to play this. It's one of those, if you already have Game Pass kind of games, sure, I guess I'll load it up and see what it's like. But
I think a lot of people who will be playing it and buying the game will be content creators. I don't see a lot of people buying it just to spend their free time.
I'm not going out of my way for it. And if that's the case, that means this Microsoft-owned studio, Compulsion Games, is not bringing in any additional income to Game Pass. Ergo, it's losing them a shit ton of money. So no, Game Pass is not the excuse for why this game failed here. Let's start with the most glaring metric. Concurrent Steam players. On launch day, I've been considering a paltry 2,500 to 3,000 players out of the gate an outright embarrassment. But South of Midnight can't even clear that low bar. It didn't even
Yeah, even like the critics of this game, we all expected the game to have a way higher player base on Steam alone.
approach it. As of right now, recording this video, it's sitting at right around the 1,000 concurrent players on Steam and slowly rising, but that was after an initial jump after the game had launched a couple hours after it. It spiked straight up from 180 to 200 people to 1,000 people, which was curious to say the least. But it doesn't help that Sweet Baby Inc. is being credited on this game because gamers are already pushing back hard. Their reputation continues to nosedive as more and more people connect the dots.
Okay, so she's the story developer and the script writer. Kim Belair is the one who developed the story and wrote the script. That's interesting.
Between underwhelming identity-driven narratives and Sweet Baby Inc.'s direct involvement with the games. A now viral video by Hub Bander on X flat out exposed yet another writer at Sweet Baby Inc. for being a complete
For people confused in the chat, this is not a AAA game, this is a AA game.
Ideological nightmare to deal with, and it explains a lot about the writing in a story like this when you listen to this person.
I would definitely like to see more queer characters of color, not just, just a white queer character. I would like to see more people that look like me. I think audiences have a very vocal minority of people who are very much against inclusion of anything that's not, as we said, like a cis straight white man. But our existences aren't political, they just are.
We're thinking that there's some sort of large demand for there to be more LGBTQ characters in games. I'm not really sure where that demand would be coming from, besides your own personal ideology. But
I don't know, my experience is I don't care if the character is queer, but their personality shouldn't be just that they're queer. Or just because like their personality shouldn't be like a specific race. Like my whole personality is I'm Armenian. Zen's whole personality is that he's Vietnamese. There's like, you can do good writing, but don't make like the only one characteristic the whole personality of a character.
But the reality is that's not the case.
And I think that more and more people are expecting to see that kind of representation and also expecting it to get broader as time goes on, as opposed to just having that same white gay guy archetype, or like Ellie in The Last of Us. We're looking for people who non-binary, intersex, trans, who aren't just white, they look like me and you. And I think that games are starting to delve into that more.
Or how she thinks you have to be a person of color to write an LGBTQ character for some reason. Could someone make sense of this for me?
I think queer people of color are able to write like within their own identity, white characters of that same identity. But I don't think that white creators can on their own cross that boundary to write a queer person of color.
Wait.
What?
So she's saying queer people of color can write white people, but if it's the other way around, it doesn't work. Okay, that's very hypocritical.
Because as people of color, we have to exist within the framework of America's just like capitalistic, colonialistic framework. Like that's whiteness is the standard.
Isn't it funny how some of the most anti-racist people out there always end up obviously being the most racist person you could ever imagine, the embodiment of that, but it's just because they're saying they're not. People are like, well, I guess that's not racist because they say they're not, so we'll go with that.
Making a point to try to insert myself into the community, not in like an aggressive way.
Not to sound memes, she should make a point to buy a microphone. It's a little painful to listen to.
But I want to be a writer and narrative designer, so I found someone relatively famous as a writer and narrative designer, and I literally went and followed probably 2/3 of the people they followed.
So this is that person at Sweet Baby Inc. admitting the way they got into the industry was not knowing anything about writing, but just following people who did know how to write, and then magically they got a job in narrative consulting. Yeah, what could possibly go wrong here? And that's just one of the many people over at the ideological nightmare known as Sweet Baby Inc. working on this game. And the
wasn't this person fired? I forgot the name, but I heard that the person got relocated to a different position, right? Correct me if I'm wrong.
Ideological pandering that they keep putting into these games, thinking that people are going to just eat it up and fall for it because that's what gamers would do in their mind. I mean, ideally, that's what they'd love to have happen. But in reality, no, they keep failing over and over again because gamers always reject the slop. Then you look over at Compulsion Games and you see that Pika Cholita is still over there. And this person, the extremely anti-white, racist person that is the community manager for Compulsion Games South of Midnight, has to make you wonder if this person blames everything on race.
I am strictly, I've started taking streaming more seriously and things like that, but in the day I do it for fun. And part of that, and just at any given point in time, you're going to get the raw, unfiltered meat. I don't create.
Okay, I'm really tired of people saying that white is not a race, that you cannot be racist towards white people. I'm sick of tired of it.
Content for everybody, nor am I trying to fit into this predominantly white straight male space. I'm trying to make my own space. They do not have to accept me. I'm not here to impress them. I'm not here to get them to like me. I'm not for them, and that's okay.
And that's just scratching the surface with Pika Cholita. I have an entire deep dive video on just how bad it gets with this character and the things they've said against white people specifically in the past. I'm not going to rehash it all here. I'll put the card above.
Coming from a person, again, only brown family growing up, only brown family in the whole town up until I got to high school, constantly bullied for not being white. Literally, my teachers almost made sure I failed school just because I'm not white. Even I don't walk around and saying white people are the devil. I really don't want to hear this kind of bullshit from people, because to me it sounds like excuses, like you're making excuses where you're not trying to achieve something higher or better, and you are making an excuse that, oh, it's the white devil that's pushing me down.
It's like permanent victim status.
Yeah.
Of me, because holy crap, that is a lot in itself. But then you move on from her to Compulsion Games as an entire company, because while she's just the community manager there's other concerns, especially when it comes to lack of professionalism coming out of a game studio, that brings up a lot of questions. When people are simply tagging them saying, hey, I don't think this looks great, Compulsion Games, or I don't like the direction you're going with this, and people are being outright blocked for trying to give feedback. It's not the best approach if you're trying to increase the player count of your game. Not only has Compulsion Games blocked me personally on X, but they even untagged themselves from a post that I made discussing how I requested a review code to cover South of Midnight for my audience, and they declined it. And on the page where you request it, they state, your request for a key has been unsuccessful.
Okay, to be unbiased, I do think there will have to be idiots to give him a key code for the game.
Yeah.
Which honestly, I'm not surprised at all. And I'm sure when this request came through to their offices, they probably handed it around to a few people because I'm sure they know me over there. And they were like, hey, look who's trying to get a free code for our game. Rejected. I'm like, oh, all right, that's one less person that's going to care about playing your game. It's not just cowardly, it's downright embarrassing. If they were so proud of their work, why are they hiding from criticism of actual gamers? To make matters worse, there's already a full playthrough of the game available on YouTube, clocking it at around 7.5 hours for the entire game. Now, the game full price on launch day is $40, and you're getting around 7.5 hours of content out of that.
In 17 hours to 100% completed. Every single nook and cranny completed. 17.
$40. Well, let's be honest here. How many people are really going to pay full price for this game? That's not a full-length game, and
I did. I did.
No, you didn't.
I paid full price for the game.
No. You got it twisted. The community gave you the money to play it. See, no, don't get it twisted.
Okay, fine. Our community paid for the full retail price of this game. Feel better now?
Yeah. Yes.
Well, yeah, it's longer than a glorified tech demo. It's not by much. Then when you look at the Steam reviews, the response from the actual players is anything but positive. One of the reviews that stuck out to me I wanted to read because it doesn't necessarily focus on how this is a DEI-ridden game. It's just not good. Steam user Zani said, looks kind of cool, no DEI rot in this game so far. The main problem is the gameplay. It's so boring, and I honestly tried to like South of Midnight as much as I can. But after 1.5 hours, I asked myself, do I want to continue? And the answer is no. I hope Compulsion Games is really savoring these moments at the office right now, because judging by...
Well, I'll play this game on stream for minimum 4 hours, minimum. Just to give it a more fair shot than just 1 hour.
Yeah, that's like nearly half the game.
Yeah, that's more than half the game.
Oh, you know, that's more than half the game.
By this paltry launch, they won't have many more days left there. If Microsoft is paying any attention at all to what's happening, and they absolutely should be, this kind of performance is not sustainable at all. Heads are going to roll, and the studio itself may shutter completely. And right now, everyone at Compulsion Games looks like they're just rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic. It's gonna make you wonder, what's next for all the people that are working there? While we have no official numbers on how much Microsoft and Compulsion Games spent putting together this so-called AA game, it's a safe bet to say that they're far from whatever they'll ever earn in sales coming back to what they've spent on it. And if that's the case right out of the gate, the game is already an utter massive failure. But the game isn't just a monumental flop, it's a wake-up call. Gamers are tired of being sold short. South of Midnight will go down as yet another example of what happens when ideology stifles innovation.
Okay, what's interesting for me is definitely digging into the gameplay of it. From everything I read, everyone is saying do not put it even on normal mode. They made it so that even on normal mode, just to compensate for the lack of gameplay, they made sure that the enemies one-shot you, just to compensate for the lack of gameplay.
Okay.
That you're supposed to be in a never-ending loop of dodging.